You're not alone if you're thinking, types of employment? What do you mean types of employment? I'm coming here, I'm working full-time, end of story. I'm with you. I was in the same boat when I first arrived here, and I didn't know that there were different types of employment here in Germany. There are a few different types of employment, and one might interest you particularly. It is just good to know because there are other options other than coming here full-time, or perhaps you're coming with a spouse who is working full-time and you'd like to work less hours, part-time. You don't want to pay taxes. There's other different options.
It might be pretty interesting for you that we're actually going to go through different types of employment here in Germany. Yes, you've got the standard full-time, part-time, even self-employed here in Germany, but there is something interesting that I wanted to mention that might open your eyes to say, this could be a really great option for me. First things first, there is something very interesting here in Germany called a mini job. Many Germans refer to this as a 450 euro job. Don't let this confuse you. This is still a mini job and it is not anymore considered a 450 euro job because that basically used to be the maximum amount of money you could earn before your mini job then turns into a part-time job where you're gonna be required to pay taxes. So with the mini job now, you need to earn less than 538 euros a month. So not 450 euros anymore, but as this number does change, I will go back and update this video. If I haven't updated it yet, go down and check the description because that updated number will be down there. But then as I mentioned, you've got your standard employment. So you've got your full-time job, which in Germany is considered more than 30 hours a week. You've also got your part-time jobs, which is less than 30 hours a week. However, you are earning more than this 538 euros a month. And then you can also be self-employed. I wrote here working about 30 plus hours a week. That doesn't always have to be the case. Many people who are self-employed are working less than 30 hours a week. That is up to you to decide. So what is this mini job all about? Before we go on, I want you to make use of your program workbook. There is the whole Working in Germany section. So if at the end of this module, you know exactly which job you think that you might want to consider, you can check it off in the book below. The mini job is a job that might be really interesting for somebody who maybe isn't providing the main source of income for their family while they're moving here, for example. They want to keep a little bit busy, but they don't want to have to pay taxes in addition. So as I mentioned, a mini job right now is when you earn 538 euros or less per month. You do not have to pay taxes or pay towards your state pension. Although I do recommend putting money towards your pension, the state pension might not always be your best option. If you have more questions about that, feel free to ask me in an email. I would be more than happy to jump on a call with you guys and go through some of your options there. So your employer, interestingly enough, does have to pay into your pension contributions, like they might as a part-time or full-time employee. And the most interesting thing for many people here is that this can be within a private household or it can be done in a place of business. So whether you want to work as a mini jobber, for example, in a restaurant or cafe, that works, but it also works if you want to be a babysitter or a cleaner, for example. All the employer has to do, which would be the family employing you, is go on this amazing website called Minijob Zentrale. I will leave that link down below. It is also in your program workbook so that you have that, but you can get all the information there that you need and they can actually go through and register you as a mini jobber to work in their house. But what if they're not paying you enough? That is okay too, because if you still want to make this maximum of 538 euros a month, you can actually work several jobs as long as they don't go over this current 538 euros a month maximum. If you do go over, of course, you're going to be put into this part-time category and you will be required to pay taxes and your own health insurance.
More information on the full-time job, which might interest many of you. You are required to have an income tax number in order to work in Germany. We talk about this when we went and we registered in the city. Taxes are going to be deducted from your paycheck each month, and that includes your pension insurance, your health insurance, your nursing care insurance, and your unemployment insurance. We've talked about this in the insurance modules, but just as a little refresher, your employer actually usually pays 50% of all of these insurance schemes, and you will pay the other 50%. As a full-time employee, you are then entitled to paid holiday time, which is a minimum of 20 days per year. Usually it's 25 days. Sometimes it's 30 days. It just depends on your employer. You're entitled to time off during public holidays. You're entitled to sick leave, and you're entitled to maternity, paternity leave, which here in Germany is 14 months when divided by the two parents, or 12 months when you're taking it on your own. So if that sounds a little bit confusing, I don't have a module for paternity leave or maternity leave, but if you do have any questions, always feel free to contact me and ask me any questions that you've had. I have had a child here in Germany. I did take maternity leave. Again, if you have more questions, just let me know. Into the part-time job, this is usually working between 10 to 30 hours per week, and you are also required to have an income tax number to work part-time in Germany. Very similar to a full-time position, it's really not that different. You are going to be paying into your insurance scheme. So your pension insurance, your health insurance, your nursing care insurance, and your unemployment insurance, you will pay half of it, your employer will pay the other half. And part-time employees legally must have the same entitlements as a full-time employee. So that means that you're also entitled to maternity, paternity leave, you're also entitled to sick leave, you're also entitled to public holidays, and you're also entitled to vacation time. If you are choosing to go the self-employed route, well, that's a little bit different than being employed part-time or full-time. Being self-employed or being a freelancer means that you do not always have to contribute to the government unemployment plan. You do not always have to contribute to your nursing care or your pension insurance, but you can consider doing this on your own. Similar to a mini job, as I mentioned, if you do end up making more than 450 euros a month, you're going to be required to actually pay taxes. And you will be responsible for paying the full cost of your public or private health insurance. We've talked about that before as well in the health insurance section if you need more information on that. And you are required to file your taxes annually. You might also be required to declare your Mehrwertsteuer, MWST, or value added tax, which is our VAT tax in Germany. You might be required to pay that monthly. Usually they make you pay that monthly for the first 2 years, and then depending on how much income you're bringing in, they might say, okay, you need to continue paying it monthly, or you can pay it quarterly, or perhaps if you don't make that much, then you can also just pay it annually. That means that you might actually need to charge VAT on your invoices to your clients or to your customers, and then you can actually write off all of the VAT on your purchases or your expenses that you've accumulated in your business. If you are a Kleinunternehmer or a small business, again, this is an entirely different subject. If you have questions, let me know. But if you register as a small business, you might not necessarily have to pay into this, and you might not be able to actually claim VAT at the end of the month or at the end of the year. It just depends on how you've registered your business. If you can check off those boxes and you know exactly which type of employment you are looking at, well, let's get started and let's find you a job.